Bob Lazar made Area 51 famous with his claims that he worked on a project to back engineer alien spacecraft at a location called S4, near the secretive Area 51 base. For decades after Lazar's claims were well known, the government denied the existence of Area 51 until finally conceding its existence 4 years ago. This entire time, Lazar has stayed off the radar and few have heard a word from him. His name did however arise when the discovery of element 115 occurred in 2013 at the GSI Accelerator in Germany, and again in 2016 when element 115 was given the working name of Unexplained. He appeared once at the International UFO Congress but again has kept to himself.
Every single science textbook in the world is now out of date after 4 new elements were added to the periodic table, finally completing the 7th row. Elements 113, 115, 117 and 118 were added at the very end of 2015, marking the first time new atoms have been added to the table since 2011. The International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry deemed that there was sufficient evidence provided by the researchers to claim the discovery of the 4 new elements. It approved the new elements on December 30th. Element 113, which has a temporary working name of ununtrium and a symbol UUT, was discovered by a Japanese team at the Riken Institute. Elements 115, 117, and 118, which have the temporary working names of ununpentium, uninceptium and ununotium respectively, were discovered by Russian and American researchers.
An international team of physicists has synthesized an element with 115 protons in the GSI Accelerator in Germany. This is not the first time a research group has synthesized the element. A team of Russian and US scientists first made ununpentium in the early 2000s and published a paper about it in 2006. However, at the time, the IUPAC didn't consider that enough evidence to officially recognize or name ununpentium. The new GSI studies are another step toward official recognition. Element 115 first became of importance to ufologists after being mentioned by Bob Lazar many years ago. Like all super-heavy, synthetic elements, ununpentium decays quickly. Atoms of ununpentium that researchers made for the 2006 announcement lasted just 30 to 80 milliseconds. The data conflicts with Bob Lazar's statement that element 115 was stable. Fortunately, one filmmaker has been allowed access to extensively interview Lazar. Jeremy Corbell won an EBE Film Fest award for his short documentary on Bob Lazar, and now he is completing a full-length version that will be out in December. The trailer description reads, Area 51, flying saucers from another world, and the program to create a fierce technology. Bob Lazar has lived a wild life. He remains the singular most famous and controversial name in the world of UFOs. The reason you know about Area 51 is because Lazar came forward and told you about it. His disclosures have turned his life upside down and he has tried to stay out of the spotlight. For this reason, he has never let any filmmaker into the private world of his daily life, that is, until now. Corbell's film will explore Lazar's claims through the lens of 30 years, providing rare and never before revealed footage guaranteed to alter the landscape of the debate unquote. Let's take a look at the trailer.
Nothing good comes from the UFO field for him. This is a reluctant UFO messiah. It changed his life.
This week we've heard the contention of UFO researchers that there's a secret government within our government.
Well, there's several, actually 9 flying saucers, flying discs that are out there of extraterrestrial origin.
The live interview with the shadowy Dennis drew international attention. Portions were broadcast by radio in 6 European countries and in a nationally televised TV special in Japan. Despite numerous inquiries and feelers, Dennis has remained anonymous until now. His real name is Robert Lazar. He says he was hired to work at an area called S4, which is a few miles south of Groom Lake. At S4, he says, are flying saucers, antimatter reactors, and other working examples of technology that is seemingly beyond human capabilities.
I did not believe that this should be a security matter. Some of it, sure. But just the concept that there's definite proof. We even have articles from another world, another system. You just can't not tell everyone.
It was like a Twilight Zone episode. It just kept getting stranger. The fact that that was happening at all was the weirdest part. Look, it's been 30 years, and all of a sudden you raised it to this level? You know, this is a powerful technology, fearsome technology, and you just don't want everyone to have it. It'll become obvious how to make constructive as well as destructive devices from it. It's my only guess as to why they have never released information. It's kind of difficult. Once you release the technology to be analyzed and give it to everyone, they can just run with it. You really can't keep the weapon potential hidden. You really can't. Look, with ET technology, you can literally rule the world.
Well, I am telling the truth. I've tried to prove that what's going on up there could be the most important event in history. You're talking about contact, physical contact and proof from another system, another planet, another intelligence. That's got to be the biggest event in history, period.
And it's real.
And it's real and it's there.
The biggest roadblock to understanding is the ability to dismiss someone because you don't see them as human, as a person. So, what pisses you off?
I mean, disinformation and lies and attacks that have no basis in reality. I mean, you can disagree with me and say, hey, I don't believe that. That's fine. I haven't presented you with enough information. I understand that. I'd probably be in your position. But don't fabricate stuff. There's some important information that needs to be released. And everybody needs to understand the truth to it and not distorted versions of it. You really need to pay attention to what I'm saying, because I have better things to do than come up with this. I'm not interested in doing this. I don't like being in the public eye. I don't got money for doing this. And quite frankly, I could make up a better lie, but I have no motivation to lie. This hasn't helped me out. It's something that it's information that I'm releasing, and that's it.
It's not an ordinary life.
That's one thing I would like. I don't like living in a James Bond movie. I like watching James Bond movies.
People have been trying to minimize who you are. People have been trying to trivialize who you are. People have been trying to twist your story based on absolutely absurd things. That's got to wear on people to a point. You got to set certain things straight.
It's time to pull things out by the roots, just to get things reset and get people familiar with the story and who I am, and this is what's true. The divergence has increased just over time. I'm trying to tell you exactly the way things were and what I was exposed to. You think there's something more secret than that the flying saucers are a cover-up for? Some of this stuff just sounds crazy to me, and I understand. I'm biased because I'm behind my eyes and see everything, but this is crazy shit.
And we know the great things that were achieved at Area 51. It's a shell game. It's a sleight of hand. We're talking about S4.
Right.
It's been confirmed to you directly from the base maybe 25
years ago, yeah.
S4 has been confirmed to me directly twice. One from an employee of EG&G. Security was daunting. And then somebody else who's confirmed to me, S4, that that's exactly how it looks.
The story, though, is that there was a facility like that at Papoose?
There is a facility like that at Papoose. Flying discs, not this UFO term that's created to make it ambiguous. Flying discs, saucers, that were piloted by non-humans. They were not ours, and this was confirmed by both of my sources, that this technology is not ours. Bob Lazar's story was confirmed to me by those two same sources. One saying that when he was working in secret capacity at White Sands in 1989, that it was common knowledge at the base about Bob's story. And I said, well, what was the believability, the general believability? And he said, everybody knew that what was going on out there were with these types of projects, and they all believed Bob's story.
And were they following it as it's unfolding in 1989?
That was the impression that I got, was that it was big news. If you ever see it, it is not ours. And I said, not ours like America? And he says, not ours like humans.
My name's Gary Heseltine and I'm the founder and editor of UFO Truth E-Zine, a magazine dedicated to people who believe that some UFO sightings do represent ET engaging with planet Earth. It's 96 pages and it's sent to you every 2 months direct to your email address. You don't have to do a thing. If you're really interested in the subject of UFOs, then subscribe to UFO Truth magazine now. It features articles by many of the world's leading researchers, either as guest contributors or regular columnists.
I am pleased to announce an exclusive offer from UFO Truth magazine to all Max UFO News viewers. The Max UFO News special offer offers a year's subscription to UFO Truth magazine for just £11.99. You can find the link to obtain your special offer in the YouTube description box below. Be sure to check it out after the show.
Videos captured by military pilots caused a media splash over the last 6 months. But what were those objects in the sky?
Yeah, since the Pentagon's release of 3 UFO videos, armchair experts have speculated that maybe the objects are birds or balloons or something mundane. But now the I-Team has obtained an in-depth report prepared by and for the military.
And it analyzes the so-called tic-tac UFO using the most sophisticated sensor systems in the world. George Knapp has the exclusive story.
Over a 2-week period in late 2004, an unknown 45-foot-long tic-tac-shaped object played cat and mouse with the U.S. Navy off the coast of California. The USS Nimitz aircraft carrier and its support ships, carrying the most sophisticated sensor systems in the world, repeatedly detected recurring glimpses of the tic-tac, but were unable to lock on. On November 14th, F-18s were ordered into the area and saw it up close. Veteran pilot Dave Fravor, commander of the elite Black Aces unit, says the tic-tac reacted to the presence of the F-18s, then took off like a bullet fired from a gun.
And it takes off like nothing I've ever seen. It literally is 1 minute it's there and the next minute it's like poof and it's gone.
In the explosion of media interest that followed the Pentagon's release of the tic-tac video, along with recordings of 2 other encounters, Commander Fravor expressed the opinion that the technology was far more advanced than anything known on Earth.
That it was something not from this world.
But in the months since the release, the Pentagon has clammed up. It's declined to release official documents about the Nimitz tic-tac encounter or similar incidents.
But there are many, many Nimitz incidences that are equally compelling, that are told from the eyes of individuals just like Commander Dave Fravor.
Until last year, Lou Elizondo ran A.A.T.I.P, a secret Pentagon assignment that quietly evaluated UFO incident reports. He chafes at the armchair experts who claim the tic-tac might have been a balloon or bird, a mistake by the pilots, or a technical glitch.
Let the data speak for itself. Let the information we receive from electro-optical data and electromechanical mechanisms be the tool in which we can look and compare what the eyewitness testimony is saying.
Elizondo is not authorized to release such information, but the I-Team obtained some of it anyway. Earlier this year, we made a whirlwind trip to Washington for a debriefing arranged by former Senator Harry Reid. While in D.C., we obtained copies of unclassified documents related to the UFO encounters, including the tic-tac. This analysis was compiled in 2 2009 with input from multiple agencies. It confirms the Nimitz group had several interactions with A.A.Vs, that is, anomalous aerial vehicles. The report lists the advanced sensors that were involved at the time, and spy capable of tracking a golf ball at a 100-mile distance, the E-2C Hawkeye airborne early warning aircraft, as well as shipboard radars and sensors on multiple F-18s, which interacted with the tick-tack, and with something else. Pilots reported a large disturbance just under the surface of the ocean, round, 100 yards across. It appeared as if the tick-tack might have been rendezvousing with the underwater object. Among the key findings in the report, the A.A.V is not something that belongs to the U.S. or any other nation. It was so advanced it rendered U.S. capabilities ineffective. It showed velocities far greater than anything known to exist, and it could turn itself invisible, both to radar and the human eye. Essentially, it was undetectable and unchallenged. The report included statements from 7 F-18 pilots as well as radar operators from the ships. Despite the seriousness of the encounter, the pilots faced ridicule afterward, and the Navy's initial report was buried, not forwarded to command. It was decided the A.A.V was not a threat. 5 years later, this more comprehensive assessment was compiled but was never made public and has been seen by few, even inside the Pentagon. Former intelligence official Chris Mellon opined in the Washington Post that the Pentagon's unwillingness to discuss these encounters or share information with other military branches is itself a threat to national security, comparable to when the CIA and FBI failed to share information prior to 9/11. George Knapp, 8 News Now.
Now, the analysis report is not dated and it has no logo, but 4 separate people who are familiar with its contents confirmed to us it is the real deal and was written as part of a Pentagon program.
Another highly classified version was also written but is unlikely to ever be released. Former Senator Reid, now recovering following cancer surgery, hopes that Congress will act to create a new Pentagon program to study these incidents.
Now, you can be among the first to read that report, now posted on our website. The only omissions are the names of some of the pilots. On documents generated by a once secret military study of flying saucers and other weird aircraft.
Yeah, the government confirms there was a UFO program. It supposedly ended back in 2012, but the Pentagon has not yet released any reports or files.
So tonight, the I-Team's George Knapp gives us the first look at documents which prove the UFO study was real and was based right here in southern Nevada.
It was in this position I learned that the phenomena is indeed real.
Last October, former intelligence officer Lou Elizondo revealed he'd been in charge of a secret Pentagon project that studied UFOs. The story picked up steam 2 months later when the New York Times reported the name of the program, A.A.T.I.P, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. At the same time, 2 once classified videos were released. One of them, a 2004 encounter between warplanes from the USS Nimitz carrier group and a vastly superior UFO dubbed the tick-tack.
I received a communication from a man who worked for one of the defense agencies, PhD in physics and math, a brilliant man. And he said, I know everything there is to know about rockets. But he said, I don't know what all these things are about. I don't know.
Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid started a dialogue with a senior scientist working for the D.I.A. Alarmed that no one was paying attention to dramatic intrusions by unknown aircraft, Reid and colleagues secured funding for an ongoing study. But it wasn't called A.A.T.I.P. The original acronym was A.A.W.S.A.P, Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Application Program. In August 2008, D.I.A. posted a solicitation for bids. Weeks later, the contract was awarded to Bigelow Aerospace. The initial amount was $10 million. It required Bigelow to provide a facility that qualified for top-secret work. Harry Reid did not influence the selection process.
There was no direct contract vehicle for Senator Reid to take care of a buddy over here in his state for a contract. That's absolute nonsense.
Space entrepreneur Robert Bigelow's interest in exotic subjects was as obvious as his company logo. He'd spent years and millions of dollars on his own scientific study of UFOs and related topics. For the D.I.A. contract, he created BASS, a separate entity housed within his aerospace plant. He hired a team of 46 scientists and investigators, along with dozens of other support personnel. The agreement with D.I.A. did not mention UFOs at all. It used more generic terms such as future threats and breakthrough technologies, and it specified 12 focal points, including lift, propulsion, materials, versions of stealth, as well as human interface and human effects, meaning Bigelow's team would study people who reported unusual experiences beyond just seeing UFOs. A ranch in Utah, known for decades as the site of bizarre encounters, became a living lab for the study. The study produced volumes of highly technical scientific reports, including projections about warp drives and anti-gravity propulsion.
I think these studies are so loaded with information. The reason I say that is that we learned a lot, but one thing we did learn is that over the decades, there have a lot of things happened that there's no explanation for.
But at the Pentagon, there was pushback. Some worried the study would become an embarrassment if the word got out. Others opposed it on religious grounds. Bigelow funded it himself for a year, but A.A.W.S.A.P came to an end after 2011. Elizondo, who had interacted with the study from the Pentagon, was assigned to continue the work, but he chose a smaller focus, limited to military encounters with unknown aircraft. His network, dubbed A.A.T.I.P, survived by keeping a low profile. Elizondo relied on an informal network of colleagues to investigate the cases that came in.
There were other folks that were related to our effort and that were part of our effort. It was a bit of a confederated approach, so you had folks in the Navy and pockets in D.I.A. and pockets here and there throughout the department that we worked together collectively on this.
George Knapp, 8 News Now.
Now, the U.S. government has yet to formally release any of the files from the 2 different UFO programs, but we've obtained a few reports. You can find them on our website at lasvegasnow.com, along with a statement from one of the managers of the study and an interview about how the UFO videos were made public.
Inside the Lightning Ball, a scientific study of lifelong UFO experiences by Irina McCammon-Scott, Ph.D. This book was written by a scientist who worked in crucial institutions involved in the UFO field, the Defense Intelligence Agency, Battle Memorial Institute, and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and presents inside information. It is uniquely credible. It may be the world's only book having portions accepted into the peer-reviewed scientific literature. It delves deeply into scientific study of the reports of people who experienced childhood sightings and additional events during their lifetimes. Included are findings suggesting that the phenomena may be interactive with human thoughts, discussion of abduction and contact, synchronicity, and speculation that such reports are simply the tip of the iceberg to more complex interactions. It contains unsolved mysteries, including seismographic analysis of a mysterious sound heard throughout a portion of the U.S. during the 1973 international UFO wave, odd characteristics of UFO phenomena, its relation to poltergeist and psychic activity, strange beings, and new Roswell information. Encompassed are one-of-a-kind scientific findings that UFOs may employ lighting invisible to people, new photographic analysis, correlations such as UFO activity and sunspot cycles, technical examination of reports of lights shined on people before missing time events, laser technology, lightning ball and electromagnetic phenomena, mass spectrographic examination of a mystery burn, and reasons behind the difficulty in photographing UFO phenomena. It invalidates today's foremost arguments used to discount UFO phenomena, that science discredits UFOs, that no scientific proof of the phenomenon exists, and that there are no studies in the peer-reviewed scientific literature. It presents first-hand reports of UFO events from scientists and professionals that have publicly described sightings including high strangeness, repeater episodes, and unusual UFO behavior. It mentions the scientific proof that UFO phenomena do exist. Inside the Lightning Ball is a truly fantastic read, and now available on Amazon.
Aliens aren't real, or are they? One Jackson woman says she saw a UFO in the hub city, and our Josh Robinson has her story.
A viewer contacted us about seeing something unusual in the sky.
I pulled my car over and I took a picture of it. It was just hanging in the air, and it had a black streak down the middle.
This is the picture she took after pulling over on Royal Street. She says she's never seen anything like this before.
I think it was a UFO. I don't believe in them, but I know I saw something that was different.
And just to make sure we're all on the same page, it's this little white streak right here in the sky that Miss G thinks could be the UFO. Now, we came to talk to Mo, who knows everything about the sky. Mo, maybe some other explanations. What could this be?
Well, a couple of things were going on in the sky at the time. I was looking at the radar and satellite, but before we get to that, a couple of things it could be is what we call a lightning strike, because those were thunderstorms just off to the north of Jackson. So lightning strikes the ground, but at the same time, there's a spike that goes up into space. But usually those are very relatively brief. Now, what it also could be, it could be an airplane that was just taking off, and it's leaving a bit of a trail behind it, a contrail behind the airplane. That's another thing it would look like.
She says that the object was just floating above an open field along Royal Street. Cole said she told her aunt about it last night, and her aunt told her there are things out there we don't understand.
I had even asked some people, did they see anything? And the ones that I did ask, they hadn't seen anything.
Cole says there are some things that just can't be explained.
There's different things happening in the world now that we cannot even comment on. We don't know why they're happening.
In downtown Jackson, Josh Robinson, WBBJ7, Eyewitness News.
And Mo also says this could be just a small cirrus cloud from the storms developing.
Sightings across the country, but data shows you may have a better chance of seeing one in Vermont than anywhere else.
Yeah, Local 44's Spencer Conlon spoke to a local UFO enthusiast to see where the hotspots are.
Could Vermont be a go-to stop for extraterrestrial visitors? Well, there are plenty of people who say yes.
There's just so many reports that don't really get out there because we're such a tiny little state.
Vermont is making its mark in sightings of unidentified flying objects. Data compiled by casino.org show there is a 250 to 1 shot you'll have a spooky encounter.
The Bennington Triangle area has always been kind of a good hotspot of creepy paranormal related activity.
Jeffrey Stewart is the founder of Paranormal Investigators of New England and has been interested in UFOs since he was 14 after having an encounter with his best friend.
We experienced the same thing. We both looked at each other, wrote down what we saw, drew out a diagram of what we seen, switched it without saying a word, and it was identical to the T. From that day on, I was hooked.
And Stewart is not alone. The research shows there have been nearly 2,500 sightings since 1940. Stewart says another hotspot is Cobble Hill along the Milton-Colchester border.
It could be a window area to UFO activity. A lot of people have reported that they've seen UFOs there, but within a blink of an eye or a move of a cloud, it disappears.
Stewart admits he was skeptical at a young age, but encourages everyone to keep an open mind.
I'd say do your research. Keep your eye on the sky, have your cell phone handy. That would be my suggestion, because it's, you know, we're not alone. There's no doubt about it.
Spencer Conlon, Local 44 News, Colchester.
Okay, if you cross over the lake into New York, your odds of spotting a UFO drop significantly. Bernie to 3,485 to 1 odds.
Keep your eyes to the sky.
Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots to the west.
This video claims to show U.S. Navy pilots on an FA-18 Super Hornet seeing a UFO. The video is part of a series of military videos that the group To the Stars Academy has received, showing military encounters with unidentified foreign objects. So what exactly are they seeing? A drone, a star, or something extraterrestrial? Rob Switek is a UFO researcher and board member of Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON. The group investigates UFO sightings.
Such sightings have been seen by airline pilots and by military pilots since the dawn of the modern UFO age.
But right now, explaining what they're seeing isn't easy.
Some of these things can't be explained, and they seem to be moving in intelligent manners.
Switek says each year there are thousands of reports of UFOs across the country and world. He says UFO investigators are able to determine explanations for the vast majority, but about 20% remain a mystery. Does that mean they're aliens, at least sometimes?
Ultimately, I conjecture, I hypothesize, whatever word you want to use there, that we're dealing with another intelligence, but I cannot prove it.
Following the release of the videos, there's a renewed interest in whether or not aliens are piloting UFOs. In December, the New York Times reported on a military program called the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. The program looked into reports of UFOs. Defense officials say the program ended in 2012, but others say the work continues. UFO researchers say there have been plenty of sightings here in Hampton Roads. Jessica Eunice is the president of the UFO Club of Virginia.
I believe extraterrestrial life has existed for millions of years out in the universe.
Eunice says one night she saw a UFO while walking her dog in Virginia Beach.
I felt it was getting closer, and I told my husband, and you know, you have to joke about this a little bit once in a while. I said, I don't want to be abducted. Let's go in, because it is coming closer.
She says she takes a skeptical approach when investigating reports of UFO sightings.
I want to get rid of the skeptics and people who are just on here and reporting UFO sightings that just want attention.
But the researchers say to prove there really are aliens, they need more help from the scientific community.
But we need a whole bunch of scientists and a whole bunch of money so that we can really bring a lot of good brains and a lot of scientific equipment to bear on the project. And that has not been done ever in the field to a large extent.
And until that day happens, what's really going on in these videos remains out of this world. We reached out to the Navy and requested an interview. They said no, but sent a statement saying, quote, for decades, aviators have reported seeing unidentified objects while in flight. While most sightings are explainable, some are not. Reporting an unidentified object is nothing unusual. Weather balloons, drones, or experimental aircraft are often difficult to identify when seen from a distance while flying at a high rate of speed. Any unidentified aircraft sighting is reported to the commanding authority of that airspace.
Well, my friends, that is it for another month. Don't forget that between episodes, you can catch up with current events via the Max UFO News blog, or even surf the Max UFO News YouTube channel on your television. If you wish to support the show, then please hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe should you so wish, and click the little bell to remain informed about future updates. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe out there.